It is evident when looking over the first year and a half of kep1er that no one in their companies has ever attended one real marketing class. The consistent fumbling of the bag with this group is a mistake that can only be made by one who doesn't understand the industry and how it works, which speaks volumes because even teenage fans have some of the basics down. There's a reason why I tell people that hard work usually means nothing in comparison to good marketing when measuring the success of a K-pop group. kep1er has some of the most hardworking idols I've seen in a while, and Queendom is hefty enough proof of this. But despite this, they have flunked so many times in 1 year, it is genuinely sad to see. Going over kep1er's work since their debut in 2022, it is infuriating to notice the number of ignorant mistakes made by their management, their agencies, when the answers were sitting right in front of them. From the debut, the concept, lack of sound distinction, the album arrangement, the lack of competitive edge in comparison to their respective generation, everything that could go wrong with kep1er went wrong. And as mean as it sounds, it feels like this project was doomed from the starting line. In the first half of this 2-part series, I recreated Girls Planet 999 as a survival show. I redid the missions, mentor picks, the voting system, contestant criterion, and more. This video will be completely focused on redoing kep1er as a group, so if you haven't watched the first part, I'll link that at the top right corner of your screen for ease of access. I noticed in my community tab that some people hoped that I'd create a whole new lineup, which would be fun, sure, but not as challenging as working with the lineup we already have now. And if you know anything about me, I'm always up for a challenge. As for the main part of this video, I intend to retouch every aspect of kep1er possible, from the name of the group, the position of the members, the concepts, the organization of their albums, to the marketing plan needed to keep them in the game in this current generation. Considering how tough 4th gen competition currently is amongst girl groups, kep1er has failed to keep up due to the genuine poor management on their company's part. I hope I'll do just as well as the first video because I received plenty of positive feedback on it. Any questions, comments, and critique is welcome. Without further ado, let's get to it. From my understanding, several people have tried to defend the name kep1er, claiming that it is not as bad as the public makes it out to be, and well, nothing. That's the only defense they have, which is sad. Personally, I've expressed my distaste of this flat, unenthusiastic name, which in my opinion is not criticized enough. Plenty of 4th gen groups have beautiful names, and to think that with all the creative directors Mnet has, this is the best their combined brain power could master and come up with, it's rather disappointing. When coming up with a name for them, I wanted to keep the space-themed concept from the survival show, but I also wanted the name to be beautiful and roll off the tongue easy. So I decided to go with Asteria. I flipped the E to the number 3, which represents the 3 planets and the 3 nationalities used to create this group. Asteria is a word borrowed from both Greek and Latin. From the Greek, it means of a star full of stars or starry. Borrowed from Latin, it means precious stone. And it is believed that the stone referred to is a sapphire, which is why their group color would be royal blue. The sapphire stone comes in a range of colors, but the most common is blue, anything from baby blue to royal blue. And this is due to the traces of iron and titanium found in the stone. For the light stick and merchandise associated with the group, royal blue would be their main color. With the group name change, of course, kep1er is not going to be of use as a fandom name. Not that it was any better to begin with anyway. For a fan-based name, keeping the space theme running, I thought Lyra would be a perfect name. While Lyra is a small constellation, the story behind it is actually quite bittersweet and a little tragic, but Lyra is the Greek feminine for lyre, which is a harp. The name is associated with harmony in the night sky, which I think would be a perfect representation of the fandom. If you watched part 1 of this series, then you would know that I suggested the center be picked by the mentors, more specifically the stage presence mentors. The position of a center in most Mnet survival shows is determined by who took first position in the show finale. The center position usually has the highest, if not one of the highest center distributions, and this worked well for produced survival shows because Somi and Wonyoung won those. Both girls suited the concepts in their respective groups, as well as carried the charisma required to execute those concepts on stage. Chaeyoung, as talented as she is, lacks charisma in general, let alone the type to perform kep1er songs, and isn't the best in stage presence, especially compared to her bandmates. She also doesn't have what it takes to compete with most, if not all, centers in her current generation, so due to these reasons, she doesn't deserve the center position. Most people find me saying that it's harsh, but the definition of deserving is showing the qualities that proves that you are worthy of something. In my opinion, 3 main qualities are required of a center. 1. Being one of, if not the best performer in the group. This includes the ability to suit more than one concept. 2. Carrying more than one talent, that is if you're not an all-rounder. And 3, the capability, finesse, and essence required to compete with other centers in their respective generation. 4th generation girl groups have some of the best centers at the moment, and because K-pop is a competition whether you want to hear it or not, the group must aim to have the best center possible. When Kep1er became a group, I could see 2 people with the capacity of being a center. The first one was Yeso. Yeso is a smart performer, and she proved that swimmingly throughout the Girls Planet competition. Her first ever performance of Crazy by 4 minutes showcased her high energy levels and powerful stage presence, while the Fate performance highlighted her iconic acting skills, which she and her groupmates used to literally bring the judges to tears. Yeso also has the visuals that are perfect for a center, which is an important box to check in a K-pop group. She can sing well and is an extremely talented and precise dancer, which covers the more than one talent requirement in my criterion, and that is exactly what we need in a center. The second one was Xiaoting. The first 2 things you learn about Xiaoting in Girls Planet is that she's extremely beautiful, obviously, and the second is that she's an all-rounder. In her first performance, she showcased her dancing, vocal, and rap skills. She also has effortless stage presence and is the biggest contender for the 4th generation it girl Wonyoung. She and Garam were truly the only people who had what it took to rival Wonyoung, and it's all because Wonyoung is the only it girl of the 4th generation, which, side note, can we stop calling everyone an it girl? That's an exclusive title. Another thing to consider is that her stage presence for girl crush and sensual concepts is impeccable. Her execution of that in the Snake performance should be enough to speak for her. As a professionally trained ballroom dancer, Xiaoting understands the importance of stage presence and has proven that time and time again in Girls Planet challenges. So between the 2, I wondered who I should go for. Some subscribers on my Shorts channel brought up the possibility of having rotational centers, where they change depending on the era and the concept, which actually makes sense. Energetic, charismatic, and bright concepts would be performed better by Yeso because of her high energy levels, bright essence, and charismatic stage presence, while sensual, elegant, and girl crush concept suits Xiaoting's effortless and elegant essence better than Yeso. Kep1er has done well in performing cuter, brighter, or energetic concepts such as Up, Back to the City, and Refresh, but they also deserve recognition for their strong performances of girl crush and sensual concepts such as Mask, The Girls Can Turn Me Down, and The Boys during their Queendom days. Considering that they excel at both, I've decided that rotational centers are the best options. During sensual and girl crush concepts and comebacks, Xiaoting will be the group's center, while Yeso takes center for their brighter, more energetic concepts. Both girls have great potential as centers, and I believe that their talent should be used to the fullest while they're in this group. I'm sure someone who didn't watch the first part is probably asking, what on earth happens to the girl who wins the competition? Coming up as number 1 in the competition obviously proves that that person is a fan favorite, which is why I believe the winner should be the face of the group. The face of the group is the representative of the group. They're given priorities when it comes to invitation in attendance to variety shows, hosting music shows as an MC, public events where there's only room for one, and brand deals. Part of the reason why their position often overlaps with the position of the main visual is that the main visual's job description is to represent their group using their looks. The difference, however, is that the face of the group has to be a public favorite and the most recognizable member. Since Chaeyeon won the survival show, it is only fair to say that she deserves to be the face of the group. This means that she has to be coached on how to conduct herself in interviews and public speaking, as she and the group's leader will be doing most of it. Speaking of leader, let's tackle that. From what I know, even though Kep1er has no official center, they do have 2 leaders, Yujin and Mashiro. Mashiro was picked due to the excellence of her leadership qualities that she showed during Girls Planet. She led twice, and both times her respective groups won the challenge. Now, to be fair, Mashiro never lost a challenge when she was on Girls Planet, but she still did a stellar job taking charge and leading her teams to victory. Yujin was obviously picked for her experience apart from her leadership skills shown on the show. She's been in the industry for almost a decade as CLC center before Kep1er, so it is wise to have an experienced idol who understands the ins and the outs of the industry in charge. Some subscribers asked me to consider Daeyeon, but I refuse for one reason: her ice cream performance. Daeyeon did not lead that group. She sat down and did everything herself, and that's not leadership behavior. That's taking the job on because you have measured everyone else's capabilities of adding any value to the group and decided for yourself that they're incapable of doing so you do the job. And I know this because I had the exact same weakness in my freshman years of high school. Now, while Mashiro and Yujin show great leadership potential, I've never seen the need for more than one leader unless a group has 11 or more members. Mashiro would be a good leader, but Yujin has better experience over her, which is why I put her in charge. Kep1er has one of, if not the strongest dance line in 4th generation girl groups at the moment, which is why the laziness and incompetence of Wake 1 in terms of utilizing it is so infuriating. Girl groups in this generation are known for their intense and sometimes downright insane choreographies, and Kep1er could not only compete, they could easily top most of these groups. Yujin, Hikaru, Dayeon, Yeso, Young-eun, and Xiaoting are all dancers, and considering that that is more than half of the group, I'd say that they are underappreciated by their companies. In terms of dissecting the dance line, I know we're going to disagree because this group has so many good dancers, but I'll try to explain myself to the best of my ability so that you at least understand where I'm coming from, even if you don't agree with me. For dancer positions, I selected Xiaoting and Young-eun. The reason for Xiaoting's placement mainly comes from her difficulties with speed in her arm movements. Compared to the other dancers, her limbs are not the most precise or sharp. Another reason is that her execution, which basically means how well someone finishes their moves, she has less control in comparison to others. Despite having tons of experience as a ballroom dancer, in idol dancing, she doesn't top the rest of the dance line. As for Young-eun, her excellency in preciseness thrives in slower songs such as Mask, but lacks the ability to execute that just as well in faster dance moves. When performing their title tracks, which require higher amounts of energy and vigor, her dance moves aren't as sharp, and while this isn't as obvious, I still cannot rank her higher because of it. Yujin and Yeso will be given the lead dancer positions. Yujin is one of the best idol dancers in K-pop. She executes a perfect balance between sharpness and fluidity in all their songs. As a meticulous and intentional dancer in her moves, her dancing appears effortless and tidy. As the most energetic dancer in Kep1er, Yeso's greatness is in executing her moves as sharply as possible from the torso going up. Her footwork, however, needs a little bit of improvement in tidiness when executing quicker dance sequences, for instance in the We Fresh post-chorus dance break. Nonetheless, her dance skills must be appreciated because she's amazing at what she does, hence why she deserves the lead dancer position. As obvious as it is, I may as well say it, but Hikaru and Dayeon would retain their main dancer positions. Hikaru is one of, if not the sharpest 4th generation girl group dancer. From her first Girls Planet performance, it was obvious how meticulous her execution is. Both her and Dayeon seem to execute far better than the other girls, so giving them the main dancer title was a no-brainer for either one of them. I am not the most educated when it comes to vocals. This is why I just stick to watching Ain't No Other Fan for my vocal lessons, but I will try to create a vocal line that makes sense. Kep1er, from what I've heard most experienced singers say, does not have the strongest vocal line, but these singers believe that if they are trained properly, they could actually improve greatly. The main vocalist position is responsible for carrying majority of the group's lines in music. To determine these positions, most analyses consider techniques such as vocal control, emotional range, enunciation, consistency, and breath support. From my understanding of these terms, I'd consider Chaehyun and Young-eun for the main vocalist positions. Mashiro, Yujin, and Dayeon would be best as lead vocalists, and then finally Yeso, Xiaoting, and Bahi would be given the vocalist positions. When it comes to Hikaru, I'd like her to maintain her main rapper position. As much as I'm going to get flack for this, I think it is best for her to be the only rapper in the group. Dayeon's rap tone is not the best for Kep1er's current music. It is just best she sticks to lending her beautiful voice and her dance skills to the group instead. One of the biggest mistakes made pertaining Kep1er was making Wadada their debut. The song was harshly criticized by fans, and in my opinion, rightfully so. Its arrangement was predictable, carried a childish post-chorus, had a weak effort in making it catchy thanks to the ridiculous chanting, the set seemingly designed with a budget of french fries, and choreography almost as goofy as Unforgiven. And trust me, that says a lot because Unforgiven choreography is like crazy goofy. What Wake 1 failed to realize was that the creation of Kep1er was helping usher a new wave of the 4th generation girl groups, which is why they should have been pioneering it instead of playing follow the leader. For one, they chose to adopt a space-themed concept, which was already oversaturated as is. The other problem lies with the noisy sound in music. Around that time, plenty of fans had consistently complained about their exhaustion when it came to this structure of music. The empty choruses, the loud chanting, the predictable and useless raps. So for Wake 1 to debut their group with a combination of what was being detested the most at that time was unintelligent on their part. What makes it truly infuriating, though, was that not only did they have a B-side that would have killed as a title track and put Kep1er at the top of the competition, but after receiving feedback that Mask was the direction fans wanted them to go, Wake 1 completely ignored that advice and continued with their beat-down waste of a strategy. Once is a mistake, but twice is foolishness. Doesn't Twice have a song called Foolish? Sorry, I'm so immature. In fantasy. It's safe to say that if I were in charge of Kep1er, I most definitely would not have made this mistake. Mask would have been the title track for one. Two, Wadada would have never been considered for this group, let alone made it into the album. And three, I would have picked the right songs from the Girls Planet competition to make Kep1er versions of. Mask was loved by fans mostly for its unpredictability. No one could have even assumed that Kep1er as a group would have the chemistry required to perform this song. Heck, even Bahi could perform it well. That's saying something. For marketing purposes, this would have been a smart move as it would have made great competition for 11 by IVE, which was all the rave at that time. The possibilities for music video themes would have been endless. Their stage presence chemistry would have been harmonious in performances. It would have been so perfect. Could you imagine like a noir-styled film for this song? The sets, the face cards, the outfits, the transitions. It would have been one delicious music video that would have fans in love. The song list on the album was also ridiculous, and I would like to kindly request the address of whomever picked the song list. Just to chat, of course. No one wanted a Kep1er version of 000 or Another Dream. Literally no one. At least not as much as they wanted their version of Snake or You Plus Me Equals Love, which were the most streamed originals from the survival show. It's almost like no one in Wake 1 has ever taken one marketing class. In retitling the debut album, I called it Face to Face, which are the catchiest and most recognizable lyrics in the song Mask, which would have been the title track if I was in charge. I then picked Snake, You Plus Me Equals Love, and Shine for their remakes. And by the way, Snake and You Plus Me Equals Love would get performance music videos as well, because I know the public would commit arson for those. And could you imagine like all the YouTube revenue from that? And then finally, I added the B-side Downtown from their Troubleshooter album, which basically marries well with the song Mask. I then changed the intro See the Light to actually be an outro to the album itself. This arrangement of songs is a perfect release for the group and would have restored some hope for those who were skeptical about this group's ability to capture attention. Bringing back some of their favorite songs from the survival show would bring a little bit of nostalgia. Mask as a title track would be an unexpected wow factor as an entrance into this new wave of the fourth generation, and Downtown would be the perfect B-side to combine the meaning to make it feel complete. And I'm pretty sure that album itself would be strong enough to keep the public's attention right up until the first comeback. Like the mistake that was made with their debut album, Wake 1 chose the wrong song for a title track and the most unfortunate time to release it. If Mask's purpose was to show their mysterious sensual side, then Back to the City would reveal a fun, energetic side to them. Back to the City only has a 3 million gap in plays on Spotify in comparison to the title track. If that doesn't scream this is a song we wanted as a title track, I am not sure what does. Back to the City would have been the perfect summer comeback because instead of just being yet another fun, bubbly song, it is a nostalgic feel in the chorus. After all, the song's lyrics are about missing the city. The pre-chorus and the bridge were ridiculously smooth. The post-chorus pulls it all together and completes it to perfection. And you know what? Bahi gets lines. That way her fans would shut up and Kep1er would not receive empty threats of disbandment on Twitter. Everybody wins. Speaking of members who are hardly utilized, this song did a good job at highlighting Mashiro and Bahi's vocal strengths, which I strongly appreciate. The music video would have a soft, dreamy, and slightly muted aesthetic to drive home the nostalgic feel, like the road trip scene in Lovesick Girls by Blackpink or the opening scenes in Umpa Umpa by Red Velvet. I would even adopt some of the scenes from the Giddy music video, such as the one where they had the neutral colored outfits or the pink set with the buildings all around. Summer 2022 gave us Pop by Twice as Nyan, and New Jeans popped up in August. We all know how that went. Back to the City would have been the perfect song to compete with the best hits of that time and would definitely earn them more than the one win they received for Up, which in itself was actually a miracle. Le Voyage was such a good song on the Doubless album, and I believe it would have been a beautiful pre-release. I noticed that bubbly summer songs aren't as exciting to majority of the fans as they used to be in the past. From the watch up on their performances though, it seemed like the theme was almost childlike, which I would not adopt. So in making Le Voyage a pre-release, it would have a blend of a dreamy and sensual concept to complete the overall album. The album itself would be titled Summer Night Dreams because A, Doubless is stupid and it needed to go, and B, the title perfectly sums up the theme of this album and its songs. The B-sides in that album would include Dreamy and Lion Tamer from the Troubleshooter album, tracks which I adored and didn't get enough love, mainly because no one would bother to check the album out since the title track was not impressive. Giddy would also be a good song as a B-side, and Le Voyage and Good Night from the Doubless album would be the perfect finish. The more I rearrange these tracks and albums, the more frustrated I get with Wake 1 and Swing for their incompetence, because these songs were never that bad or incapable of competing competing with other groups. They just were released at the wrong time, in the wrong order, with the wrong theme. My relationship with Japanese releases in K-pop has been a delicate one for the obvious reason that Japanese releases often feel like an afterthought. The songs are messy, cookie cutter with the feel of like a last-minute project, and most of them are just downright unlistenable. Apart from Twice, BTS, Monster X, Red Velvet, and recently IVE, I do not listen to any other group's Japanese releases. IZ*ONE unfortunately fell victim to this ridiculous norm in K-pop. Kep1er's Wing Wing seemed to escape this trench, but then the chorus decided to do this. And me being me refused to listen to that album until this project, and when I heard Together Forever, I was floored. A song as magnificent as that was left to sit in the sidelines, but then again, look at the pattern in the last 3 albums, I cannot say that I'm surprised. Together Forever was enjoyable. It had a post-chorus that was just glorious and a timeless instrumental, and the fact that the music video does not exist for this song is a crime of the highest order in K-pop. For their first Japanese release, I retitled the album Retrograde, which means an apparent planetary motion that seems to be moving in a different direction when viewed from a particular vantage point. For this album, I picked Wing Wing with the condition that the chorus and the post-chorus are chucked out completely, and then put something reasonable in their place. I picked Lovely from the Love Struck album and Attention from the Douglas album to be changed to Japanese songs entirely. Daisy and I Do Do You are decent B-sides from their Japanese album, so I put them there as well. And finally, the Japanese versions of Mask and Back to the City would be added, making a total of 8 tracks, with Together Forever being the title track. This would not only be a solid Japanese release, it would also not be annoyingly undigestible like most Japanese K-pop music. And as a group with 2 Japanese members, it is the bare minimum to prioritize their nation's market in the music.
Together forever and ever and ever.
Speaking of market and marketing, let's get into marketing strategy, shall we? When we discuss marketing strategy, we're looking at tactics Wake1 and Swing should have adopted or employed to market Kep1er as a group. So far, they threw them into Queendom 2, which was an unfruitful mess, and that was just about it. Marketing in K-pop relies on 2 things: hype and consistency. Listen to me, okay? K-pop stans are childish, loud, bored, and have plenty of time on their hands. Your job as a company is to get them hyped and then keep them hooked, because like children, they pay attention to any shiny little toy no matter how shallow and useless it is, and then they get bored and distracted after 5 minutes. Girls Planet's job was to grab their attention. Now Kep1er's career was supposed to keep them hooked. In terms of their promotion being way less than average, fans have debated thoroughly why. It cannot be the money. Kep1er seems to be doing okay in album sales, and Wake1 and Swing are not like broke. So this led fans to believe that the reason for this cheap marketing has to do with the fact that the company has lost faith in Kep1er altogether and is simply using them as a cash cow to prepare for something else. That's something else being Zero Base One, but I'm not ready to start an argument that I cannot finish, so we shall debate about this another time. Regardless of the reasoning, many of us can agree that the marketing is nowhere near decent. One doesn't need to be Einstein to know that Queendom was not a well thought out idea. Throwing Kep1er into Queendom felt like a last minute attempt to keep the public's interest after how quickly they got bored of the group. Queendom 1 was a major success for all groups involved, and it was a fanfare for the general public. It's safe to say that they had been anticipating Queendom 2 for years. How Mnet failed to predict the fury that would accumulate amongst fans for including Kep1er in this lineup, I will never understand. Apart from the public fury, another reason why this was a bad idea was that Kep1er was formed from a survival show. The gap between both of these survival shows was literally 5 months. That's 2 survival shows in a year. Time wasted on Queendom could have been put to good use promoting the girls by using smarter avenues. Pre-releases have been around for ages, even outside of K-pop, and would have been a great way to create hype for the group. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Kep1er has never had a pre-release except for their Japanese mini album, right? I suggested earlier that Le Voyage would be a pre re-release with a more dreamy and less childlike theme in both the styling and music video. I've seen so many people say that they are outgrowing childlike or bubbly summer concepts, but fell madly in love with Le Voyage. I believe that the dreamy vibe to the song is the reason why. Hyping up the public with pre-releases has been working so well for so many groups lately, and picking a B-side on any album the company could guarantee fans would love is a great way to increase album sales, which would help overall. I would definitely incorporate that into their music as a marketing strategy. Although I'm not the first creator on this platform to say this, I will echo it because I share the same sentiments. The use of Kep1er's personalities is whack. During the show, it was obvious that some of these members had personalities that would stand out in variety show content. And before you say variety shows get to decide whom they want on their broadcast, I am aware, but this is Mnet. I'm sure that they are more than capable, like any other company with influence, to pull strings behind the scenes and push Kep1er into the general public's television screens. Chaehyun has been an MC on the show, but nothing else that I know of. As the group's face, I would make sure that she was on every variety show under the sun. I'd prioritize sending her along with Young-eun, who's been known to be like incredibly funny, and Yoo-jin, who's not only experienced with variety content, but is also the group's leader. Their YouTube content has been dubbed as boring and repetitive by fans, which is a fair criticism. Their channel needs to upload content that not only entertains fans, but also pulls in new fans. To keep current fans entertained, I'd propose the group doing fun outdoorsy activities with competitive and fun games like most groups have done. Not the repetitive ASMR content, everyone is bored of that. Another way to utilize the fan base, Bahi. She has the most dedicated and probably one of the biggest fan bases in K-pop right now. She would be great use for online content. Having a consistent online presence is necessary for success, and giving her like, I don't know, her own vlog series separated from the rest of the girls would be a smart idea. Her fans would be obsessed with her and they would eat anything she does. Literally anything. So getting and showing a glimpse of her behind the scenes life would be an excitement today and rake in that sweet YouTube revenue. Like, wake up. A huge conversation in K-pop has been the lack of talent in the fourth generation, which is not true. Fourth generation has plenty of talent. Kep1er's talents could be utilized as content for fans. From the survival show alone, we learned that some of the dancers in this group are just as good choreographers. That can be used as well for content on their YouTube channel. They could either make choreographies individually, dance covers, or as a dance line altogether. The girls could also write their own raps, as some K-tubers have suggested, and the vocalists could sing covers, like lots of them, not just like one or two covers. The main point is to showcase their talent at any given opportunity to impress the general public and reach out for people outside of their fan base. Brand deals have also been strongly criticized by bitter fans, but they are one of the best ways to market a group for years, and some of the most popular groups right now use this strategy for stan attraction. A group with attractive members such as Xiaoting, Yoo-jin, Yeso, and Chaehyun should not be sitting in the sidelines watching other groups doing what they could do as well. Within the first 10 months, IOI had several CFs and photo shoots and promotions as a group, and I generally have a hard time pinpointing any proper marketing for Kep1er in their last year and a half, apart from like the 6 billion photo shoots that nobody cares about. Xiaoting is one of the most attractive idols in this generation, and if pushed properly, companies would be scrambling for her everywhere. And now, before you come at me with the she's Chinese and in South Korea, xenophobia, blah blah blah, I'm aware. Let's be honest, as long as someone is pretty, Koreans will eat it up. It's literally their weakness. Now that I've reached my limits in this video, my apologies for how late this video was because mentally I've been struggling, but I promise I've been taking care of myself. I have amazing friends. I have a wonderful family beside me. So also I'd like to thank you guys for 48,000 subscribers. That's like a thing. I would like to express my gratitude also for the overwhelmingly positive comments in my like recent videos, whether it was people commenting on the editing or the subtitles. You guys have been awesome and I'm grateful for that. I appreciate it. So until the next time, I will see you then. I love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.